Chosen one, listen, this is not coincidence. This moment right now, as your eyes meet these words, has been orchestrated by heaven itself. You are not here by accident. Something in the unseen has shifted, and heaven has turned its gaze toward you. You have crossed through storms that others could not survive. You have endured betrayals that tried to hollow your faith. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still chosen. Every delay, every rejection, every silent night was not punishment, it was preparation. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being hidden. You thought you were being delayed, but you were being developed. The very pain that once crushed you has become proof that you were never ordinary. You are a divine exception, walking in human skin. The fire that tried to destroy you was the same fire that refined your soul until it shone like gold. You have cried. You have prayed. You have begged for signs. This right now is one of them. Heaven whispers through this very moment. You finally won. You didn't even realize when it happened. Because victory rarely arrives with noise. It comes softly. Through surrender. It comes quietly. Through the courage to keep walking. When everything inside you wants to quit, there is a reason heaven chose this exact second to reach you. You've stepped out of the testing ground and into the proving ground. Every season of pain was building muscles of faith that can now carry the weight of glory. That's why, when others fell apart, you kept rising. That's why, when others left, you kept believing. Because deep down, something inside you refused to die. It's the divine seed of purpose that cannot be buried. Beloved, you are walking into a time when those who doubted you will be silenced, not by your words, but by what God does next in your life. The same mouths that mocked you will have to testify of your restoration. The darkness that followed you will tremble when it realizes that your endurance was your weapon all along. You have stepped into a realm where your very existence threatens hell's agenda. Now, heaven calls you to awaken. Shake off the residue of failure, the weight of shame, the dust of fear. You are entering your becoming season. The door that once seemed locked is about to swing open because heaven has authorized your access. The waiting wasn't wasted. The pain wasn't pointless. You are proof that divine delay is not denial, it's protection. God didn't forget you. He was fortifying you. You've been hidden in the cleft of the rock while storms raged around you. But now, as the clouds part, light begins to pour over your life. What was meant to bury you has become the soil for your blooming. The very place of your tears is about to become the ground of your triumph. You are rising now, not by might, not by power, but by divine decree. And listen, beloved, your response matters. Do not let this be just another moment that passes by. This is heaven's signal, a spiritual checkpoint that confirms your readiness. If you can feel it stirring within you right now, if something deep inside you whispers, "This is for me," then you already know the timing is divine. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The morning has come for you. Chosen one, heaven's light is now rising over your life, and there is no darkness strong enough to pull you back into the night you've escaped. Now, take a breath. Look at where you've come from, and realize you made it. Every force that tried to destroy you has already failed. Every attack that came against you has only revealed your anointing. You finally won. Even when you didn't feel like it, heaven saw every battle, every tear, every act of faith that no one else noticed. And now, the reward is coming. This is the beginning of your unveiling season. It is time to rise into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The call over your life is not random, it is generational. When you walk in obedience, whole bloodlines are set free. When you speak truth, shackles fall off others. When you rise, darkness trembles. That is why the enemy fought you so violently, because your victory is contagious. If this message is stirring something inside you, do not scroll away. Heaven doesn't send reminders without purpose. Let your agreement echo in faith, like, share, and subscribe so the light can reach others who are on the edge of giving up. Comment the number 777 below as a prophetic act of completion. A declaration that your cycle of struggle has ended and your season of victory has begun. You have finally won. Chosen one. Stand tall. Breathe deeply. And know this truth. Your story is no longer about survival. It's about reign. Chosen one. Before you ever saw your first battle, heaven already knew what would be required of you. Every storm, every betrayal, every loss was written into your story, not to destroy you, but to forge you. You have not been fighting random chaos. You have been walking through a divine curriculum. The hidden war that surrounded you was not punishment. It was preparation for your coronation. There were nights when you couldn't breathe beneath the weight of invisible warfare. You looked around and saw nothing. Yet everything inside you screamed that something was wrong. That was not imagination, it was spiritual sensitivity. You were sensing a clash of kingdoms, the pull between destiny and destruction. The voices that told you to quit were not your thoughts. They were echoes from the enemy, desperate to silence the one who carried light. Do you remember those seasons when everyone around you seemed fine, yet you felt under attack for no reason? That was because you were carrying a mantle others could not see. You were never fighting for survival. You were defending your assignment. Every wave that crashed against you was trying to push you off course, to make you question your calling, to make you believe you were unworthy. But heaven watched, and heaven waited, and heaven recorded every moment you chose to keep believing, even when it hurt. You didn't realize it then, but your perseverance was warfare. Every time you refused to curse your season, you advanced heaven's agenda. Every time you forgave, instead of retaliating, you won unseen victories. Every tear was a weapon. Every prayer was a sword. The hidden war was not against flesh and blood. It was against principalities that feared the rise of someone like you. You carried light in dark places, and darkness recognized your name before people ever did. There were days when you felt like the war would never end, like you were trapped in a cycle of breaking and rebuilding. But the truth, beloved, is that you were being trained to fight on a higher level. You were learning discernment through pain, endurance through loss, and authority through silence. Heaven could have removed the storm instantly, but God chose instead to strengthen you in it, because what you're carrying now cannot be stolen easily. It was earned through scars. Chosen one. Look back and see it clearly now. The times when doors slammed shut were moments of protection, not punishment. The people who left were part of the pruning. The opportunities that vanished were redirections. Heaven was rearranging your surroundings to preserve your purity. You thought you were losing ground, but you were actually being lifted higher into unseen dimensions. The hidden war revealed who you truly are. You learned to hear the whisper of God amid the roar of opposition. You learned to walk by faith when sight betrayed you. You learned to speak life when death tried to claim your hope. These are the markings of a warrior who has already been tested. You no longer need external validation. You have internal revelation. You understand now that survival was never the goal. Transformation was. As the apostle wrote to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, against rulers of darkness and spiritual wickedness." That is what the war was always about. The unseen forces that feared your awakening. The enemy saw what you were destined to become, and his strategy was to exhaust you before you realized it. But you endured. You bled. You cried. And yet you stood. You held on to promises no one else believed in. And now, the same war that once tried to destroy you has become your testimony. You are not the same person who began the battle. You have become sharper, stronger, wiser. The fire did not consume you, it baptized you. The tears did not drown you, they watered the soil for your next season. Every scar you carry now glows with holy fire. A reminder that you survived what should have ended you. So walk forward, chosen one. The hidden war is behind you, but its lessons remain within you. You carry the wisdom of survival, the discernment of one who has seen through deception, and the authority of one who knows God is faithful. The battle was never about your destruction, it was about your unveiling. You have proven your faith under pressure, and heaven calls you victorious. Chosen one. There are memories that still ache. When you touch them, the weight you carried in silence, the tears that no one saw, the questions that burned without answer. You've learned what it means to be surrounded by people yet feel unseen. You've smiled through exhaustion, encouraged others while secretly breaking inside. But heaven saw every moment of it. None of your pain went unnoticed. When others misunderstood your silence, heaven interpreted it as intercession. Every sigh became a prayer. Every tear became an offering. You were not being ignored. You were being refined. You carried burdens too heavy for others to understand because you were built to handle what they could not bear. You were never fragile. You were favored. There's something sacred about suffering in silence. It strips away pretense. It teaches you to hear the whisper of God in the quiet between your sobs. You've known the pain of giving your best and being met with betrayal. You've known what it feels like to pour out your heart and receive nothing in return. But what you didn't know then is that those were the moments heaven was carving capacity into your soul. Chosen one. You were not being punished, you were being entrusted. God trusted you with pain because he knew it would not make you bitter, it would make you deeper. Your empathy was born in those dark rooms. Your compassion was shaped by the same loneliness that tried to destroy you. You are not just a survivor, you are a vessel of divine understanding. Think about it. Even when you wanted to give up, something inside you kept whispering, "Hold on, that was not you. That was heaven interceding through you." The Spirit of God himself carried you when you were too weak to stand. That invisible strength, that quiet fire, was the mark of your anointing. You learned that silence doesn't mean absence, it means intimacy. The God who seemed far away was actually closest when you could not sense him. His hand was guiding you even in the dark. His voice hidden within the ache of your waiting. You wanted deliverance, but he was offering depth. You asked for answers, but he was giving you wisdom. The ancient words recorded in Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, declare, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. And that's why you endured what you did, because glory requires pressure. What you've carried in silence will soon speak loudly through the fruit of your life. The glory being revealed in you will silence every doubt, every critic, every lie that said you were forgotten. Your pain is prophetic. It is not wasted. It is currency in the kingdom. The loneliness you despised is the same soil where divine power takes root. Heaven often hides its greatest works inside seasons of silence. You think nothing is happening, but underneath, resurrection is forming. You've been living through what others will read as testimony. And now, chosen one, heaven is beginning to reveal why you had to carry so much. You were chosen to intercede for bloodlines, to stand in the gap for generations that lost their way. You were the one who felt the weight, because you were the one strong enough to lift it. This is why your heart has always been deeper, your emotions stronger, your awareness sharper. You were made to feel deeply so you could heal deeply. What others call too emotional, heaven calls spiritually sensitive. What they called weak, heaven calls set apart. You were misunderstood because you were never meant to be understood by the crowd. You are heaven's secret weapon wrapped in human skin. And now, that long silence is ending. The weight you carried has finished its assignment. You are stepping into a season where what you endured in private will bear fruit in public. The tears that watered the ground beneath your feet will soon bloom into joy that cannot be hidden. You will speak, and others will feel peace. You will stand, and atmospheres will shift. But before you rise fully, pause and acknowledge this truth. Your quiet suffering was never in vain. Every ounce of pain became oil. Every lonely night became light. Heaven was teaching you how to carry power without pride, how to love without condition, and how to see without fear. If these words strike something deep inside you, take a moment to seal your agreement. Comment, I still rise. Let those 3 words echo in your spirit. They are not just a declaration, they are prophecy. When you type them, you affirm that no matter what has tried to bury you, you will rise again. You are no longer defined by pain, but by purpose. You still rise. Chosen one. And heaven smiles every time you do. Chosen one. There is something divine about silence, something the enemy has always misinterpreted. He mistook your stillness for surrender, your quiet for weakness, your retreat for defeat. But what he never understood is that silence is one of heaven's greatest strategies. When you went quiet, heaven began to speak louder on your behalf. You see, silence was never your prison. It was your preparation room. When you withdrew from the noise of the world, the Spirit began to whisper instructions that only those who listen in secret can hear. There are moments in life when heaven hides you on purpose, when God blinds the crowd so they cannot see your transformation. You looked invisible to men, but you were radiant before angels. In your stillness, strategies were being written. In your silence, power was being built. You were learning to fight differently, not with reaction, but with revelation. You stopped explaining yourself. not because you stopped caring, but because you realized truth doesn't need to defend itself. You let go of the need to prove anything, and in doing so, you disarmed the enemy completely. Every time you chose silence over vengeance, heaven recorded it as victory. You learned to stand still when everything around you demanded that you fight back. You held your peace when you could have shouted your pain. You waited when you could have rushed. That restraint was not weakness. It was divine maturity. The enemy thought your silence meant he had won. But he did not understand that silence is where the lion draws breath before the roar. Heaven watched quietly as you learned to trust without evidence. You were not defeated. You were gathering spiritual weight. The quiet days were your cocoon, the space where transformation took place without applause or acknowledgement. Chosen one. The world does not understand that silence is a shield. It confuses absence for abandonment. But heaven calls it alignment. In those still seasons, you learned to listen with your spirit, not your ears. You began to discern the difference between voices that flatter and voices that build. You began to understand that sometimes divine power looks like waiting. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 20, verse 4. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. And while you were silent, God was fighting for you. Every unseen battle, every hidden accusation, every whispered lie, He was there, defending your name where your voice could not reach. Your silence invited divine justice, and now, heaven is preparing to vindicate you openly. The people who misunderstood your silence will soon see the reason for it. They will realize you weren't withdrawing, you were being refined. They will see the glow of someone who has been alone with God and emerged radiant. There is a specific power that comes from choosing stillness in a noisy world. It's the power of knowing who fights for you. Chosen one. Think of the seed buried deep in the earth. It seems forgotten, silent, hidden but beneath the soil. Something unstoppable is forming. That's what happened to you. You were buried under silence, but roots were forming. Strength was developing, and soon the sprout breaks through the surface, stronger than ever. You've learned that you don't need to announce every move. Heaven works best through mystery. The less others know, the freer God is to move without interference. You became dangerous to darkness when you learned to move in silence. Every hidden prayer, every unseen act of obedience, every quiet surrender, it all carries weight in the spiritual realm. Now, as you step out of that silence, you do so with authority. You are no longer the one who explains, you are the one who embodies. You don't have to convince anyone anymore. Your peace will speak for you. The world may still not understand your quiet strength, but heaven recognizes it as the sound of victory. Remember this. Chosen one. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of divine activity. When heaven goes quiet, it is not absent, it is working. You have been trained in that hidden stillness, and now you walk with an authority that cannot be taught, only birthed through patience. So carry that calm wherever you go. Let the world speak loudly if it must. Your stillness will always be louder in the spirit, because the one who learned to be silent under pressure is the one who cannot be shaken when the storm returns. Chosen one. There comes a moment when heaven shifts the atmosphere around your life, a moment when you realize that what once oppressed you no longer has power. You feel it first in your spirit. A quiet exhale, After years of holding your breath, something breaks. And you know deep inside, the scales have shifted. You may not have seen thunder or fire, but heaven moved while you slept. Chains you didn't even realize you were still carrying have fallen away. The heaviness that sat on your chest has lifted. You're walking lighter, thinking clearer, seeing further. What you're sensing now is not imagination, it's release. For years, the balance seemed tilted against you. You watched others rise while you stayed waiting. You gave your best and received so little in return. But the spiritual economy of heaven never forgets an offering made in faith. Every prayer, every surrender, every unseen act of obedience, none of it was wasted. They became seeds. And now, in silence and suddenness, they have begun to bloom. The moment the scales shifted was not loud or public, it was quiet, holy, hidden. Heaven loves to turn the tide without warning, to let those who doubted you see that nothing can delay what has been divinely decreed. You may not even recognize the shift yet, but everything around you is beginning to respond to it. Favor follows you differently now. Peace lingers longer. Doors that were sealed are starting to tremble at the hinges. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 75, verse 6, "For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one, and setteth up another." Oh, that is what is happening right now. Heaven has moved the scales. The weight that was against you has been replaced with divine momentum. God Himself has shifted your positioning. You are being set up, not set back. Chosen one. This shift doesn't need noise. It needs recognition. Pause for a moment. Can you feel the stillness before a new beginning? That's not emptiness. That's the sound of balance returning. It's like the hush that falls right before sunrise. When the world holds its breath, waiting for light to break through, that's where you stand, at the edge of dawn. Your life is like a great tree that survived every storm. The lightning tried to strike it down. The winds tried to uproot it. Yet it remains standing. But now, the season changes. The storm clouds move away, and sunlight begins to touch your leaves. Fruit begins to form where only scars once were. That's how heaven marks victory, not with applause, but with new growth. Chosen one. People may not understand what has changed in you, but they will sense it. There will be peace in your presence that they can't explain. You'll speak less, yet your words will carry more weight. You'll walk into rooms that once rejected you, and this time, the atmosphere will honor you. That's how divine reversal works quietly, steadily, undeniably. Do not fear the silence between shifts. It's only heaven recalibrating your world. Like an artist brushing the final strokes before unveiling the masterpiece, God is perfecting details behind the curtain. Your responsibility is not to rush ahead, but to remain available, steady, humble, thankful. The moment you sense anxiety, remind yourself, the scales have already shifted. And as you stand in this new equilibrium, remember this: your journey has power beyond you. What you've endured becomes a map for others still wandering in their storms. There's someone out there right now who feels hopeless. Someone whose night hasn't broken yet. When they hear your story, they'll believe light still comes. That's why it matters that you share. When you spread light, you multiply hope. When you tell your story, You give someone else permission to breathe again. If this message stirs something deep within you, if you can feel the balance returning, then help it reach another weary soul. Like this message, not as a habit, but as an act of gratitude. Share it so someone else who feels forgotten might realize that their tide is about to turn too. And if this space feels like home for your spirit, subscribe, not just to hear more, but to stay connected to the rhythm of what heaven is doing here. You are part of something larger now. This is not entertainment, it's alignment. Every time you engage, you add light to the world's balance. Chosen one, the scales have shifted, and your season has changed. Do not fear the quiet that follows, embrace it. For the same God who balanced your destiny will sustain your peace. You've waited long enough. Now watch how heaven turns your waiting into wonder. Chosen one. There is a date written in the scrolls of heaven, a divine appointment etched into time itself. October 20. It is not just another day on the calendar, it is a sacred threshold, a spiritual command disguised as simplicity. Heaven whispers one instruction to your soul: stay alone on that day. Do not misunderstand this isolation. It is not rejection, it is consecration. You are being called apart, not pushed away. This is not a punishment, it is preparation. The same way Moses climbed the mountain alone before he carried revelation back to the people. You too must step into solitude to receive what cannot be delivered in the crowd. For some, this calling will feel uncomfortable. The silence may seem too loud, the stillness too heavy. But on October 20, the veil between heaven and earth thins, and those who choose stillness will hear what others miss. This is not a call for the masses, it is an invitation for the marked. Chosen one. There is something heaven needs to reveal directly to you, something too intimate for the noise of human voices. The world has been loud lately, full of opinions, distractions, and confusion. You have been absorbing too much energy that is not yours. The divine separation coming on that day is heaven's mercy. It is a cleansing. When God calls you to solitude, it is because He wants to speak without interference. Think of it as a spiritual eclipse. The light doesn't disappear, it simply shifts position so you can perceive what ordinary light hides. On October 20, the alignment of your spirit with divine timing will unlock hidden understanding. You will see memories differently, forgive deeper, release pain you didn't even realize you were still carrying. Heaven speaks clearly through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 30, verse 15. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Oh, that is the essence of this command. Your strength will not come from striving or speaking, but from stillness. You are not being asked to perform, only to be present. You are not being called to act, but to align. When the world becomes too noisy, solitude becomes sacred. On October 20, heaven is asking you to withdraw, to let your phone rest, to turn down the volume of everything that pulls your focus outward. Light a candle, sit in silence, and allow the Spirit to breathe through the stillness. There, in that holy quiet, something inside you will shift. It won't be dramatic at first. You might feel a calm you can't explain, a sense of clarity returning after long confusion. You may sense emotions surfacing, let them. Heaven is cleansing you. Old energy will break off. Old pain will fade. And what remains will be your truest self, unshaken, unbothered, undistracted, chosen one. Solitude on that day is not a command for distance, it's an invitation for intimacy. God will not shout over noise, He will whisper into stillness. The deeper you sink into that quiet, the louder His presence will become. Every answer you've been chasing externally will start to rise from within. The divine encounters you've read about, the burning bush, the whisper on Mount Horeb, the visions of prophets, all happened in isolation. Heaven always meets the chosen in secret. This is your secret place moment, your appointment on the mountain. The instruction is simple: don't run from the quiet. Maybe you've been surrounded by people yet felt spiritually starved. Maybe you've been searching for confirmation through others' words. But on October 20, you won't need anyone to translate heaven for you. You will hear for yourself. You will know for yourself. You will understand why certain doors closed and others never opened. You will see that it was all divine choreography. In that stillness, God will whisper your next assignment. The clarity you have begged for will arrive like dawn light creeping through blinds, soft, steady, unmistakable. And when it does, you will realize that solitude was never loneliness. It was alignment with heaven's rhythm. So, prepare your heart. Mark the day. Do not plan distractions. Do not fill the hours with noise. Heaven has a message with your name on it, and silence will be the envelope that carries it. And when that moment comes, when you feel the quiet begin to stretch into peace, respond with faith. Let heaven see your readiness. Comment 444 below as a prophetic sign of divine order and alignment. That number represents the establishment of heaven's will in your life, body, soul, and spirit coming into harmony. It is your agreement with the timing of God, your signature on heaven's invitation. Chosen one. October 20 is not an ordinary day. It is the turning of a key. When you choose solitude, heaven will open something no one can close. Chosen one. There comes a sacred silence that only the faithful understand, the kind that arrives after you've done everything you could and can do no more. Heaven calls it the watching moment. It is the space between promise and fulfillment, between prayer and manifestation. It's when heaven stops speaking, not because it's gone quiet, but because it's observing what you will do next. Many mistake this silence for abandonment. You begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did God change His mind about me? But the truth is, when heaven watches, it is never from distance, it's from delight. The Father is not withholding, He is watching the seed of faith you've planted. He wants to see if you will still believe when there are no signs to hold on to. This watching period is one of the holiest spaces in your spiritual walk. It is when your faith graduates from dependency to maturity. When heaven goes silent, your spirit must learn to remember what was spoken. Even when it's no longer repeated, you have already received the word. Now you are being tested in the weight of it. Chosen one. This is why the silence before manifestation feels so heavy. It's not emptiness, it's expectancy. It's the spiritual equivalent of holding your breath right before the sunrise. Heaven stands still. Angels pause their assignments, and the universe waits to see if your faith will remain unshaken. You are not forgotten, you are being evaluated for greater trust. You might feel like you're walking blind. Prayers seem unanswered. Signs seem missing. And your heart grows weary. But remember, the teacher is silent during the test. That is not neglect, it is structure. Heaven has already given you everything you need to pass this stage. The silence is not punishment, it's the sound of divine confidence. There were times you felt surrounded by walls that would not move. Yet within those walls, your character was growing roots. You learned endurance that sermons cannot teach. You discovered how to worship without feelings, how to pray without results, how to trust without evidence. And that, chosen one, is where heaven finds gold, the rare souls who still bow, even when the blessing seems delayed. Heaven is watching not to judge, but to celebrate. You may not see it, but each act of faith in silence sends ripples through eternity. Each time you choose peace over panic, angels record it as victory. Each moment you keep your heart soft when life turns hard. Heaven calls it glory. This is why the quiet season cannot be rushed. It is sacred ground, where your faith and God's faithfulness intertwine. The ancient words recorded in the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 10, declare, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." That is your truth. Chosen one. The test is not about your failure, it's about your refinement. You are not being weighed down, you are being weighed in glory. The silence is the furnace where your spirit is purified from fear, doubt, and distraction. When this season ends, you will emerge brighter, steadier, and unmovable. Think of the caterpillar hidden within its cocoon. It feels alone, surrounded by darkness, unsure if transformation will ever end. Yet, inside that quiet tomb, wings are forming. The silence is not a coffin, it's a cradle. The same stillness that feels suffocating is actually shaping your flight. That is what heaven's watching looks like. It's not indifference, it's investment. Heaven's eyes are on you, not to see if you'll fall, but to marvel at how far you've come. Every breath you take in faith, every day you keep walking when you could have quit, it's divine worship. You are teaching unseen realms what endurance looks like. And here's the hidden secret. When heaven watches in silence, the outcome is already written. God is not waiting to decide if he will bless you. He's waiting for you to align with the blessing. Your reaction determines the release. If you can keep trusting through silence, you have already passed the test. Chosen one. Do not mistake heaven's stillness for distance. Sometimes God steps back, not to abandon you, but to allow your spirit to step forward. That's what maturity feels like, walking on what you've already heard, not waiting for constant reassurance. So rest in this silence. Let it shape you. Let it teach you that peace isn't found in answers, but in assurance. You are not walking alone. The eyes of heaven are on you. The breath of God is within you, and the promise is still alive around you. You are seen even when you feel invisible. You are held even when you feel hollow. And soon, when heaven finishes its watching, the silence will break, not with noise, but with fulfillment. Chosen one. When others walked away and the crowd grew smaller, you may have wondered if something was wrong with you. But heaven was not taking people from you. Heaven was revealing who truly stood for you. Every departure, every sudden silence, every relationship that ended without closure, it all carried divine purpose. The isolation you feared was actually identification. It was God marking you as part of his remnant. The few who remain when the many fade away. There is something rare about those who remain faithful when comfort disappears. You have been through moments where loyalty was tested, where the company of friends turned into the echo of your own voice. Yet even in loneliness, you felt a quiet fire burning, a conviction that you were not meant to belong to the crowd. That conviction was not pride, it was calling. You are among those heaven calls the remnant, a chosen portion that refuses to bow when the world bends. The mark of the remnant is not loudness, but endurance. You have endured storms that would have scattered others. You have stood when the ground trembled, prayed when your mouth went dry, believed when faith seemed foolish. This is why heaven has placed a mark on you, a seal invisible to the world, but known in the Spirit. The mark of the remnant is not painted with ink. It is carved through pain and polished by perseverance. It shines brightest in those who kept walking after every reason to stop. That mark announces to the unseen realm, this one belongs to heaven. It is a signal to angels and a warning to darkness. When hell looks at you now, it sees someone it cannot touch without divine permission. Chosen one. You did not lose people. You were filtered. Every departure was a divine separation to make room for authenticity. When the counterfeit falls away, what remains is real. Heaven needed to isolate you from voices that diluted your purpose, from influences that disguised themselves as comfort but carried confusion. You may have grieved what left, but soon you will thank God it did. There's a mysterious beauty in being reduced to what's essential. The fewer people around you, the clearer heaven's voice becomes. When the noise dies down, you finally hear your true rhythm. You discover that solitude is not emptiness, it's space for the Spirit to expand within you. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 14, "But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." Endel, you are one of the few. That narrow road is where the remnant walks, not because they are better, but because they are willing. The wide road offers comfort, applause, and ease. But the narrow one holds truth, purpose, and peace. You have been chosen for the narrow path, and though it feels lonely at times, it leads directly into destiny. The mark of the victorious remnant carries weight in both worlds. On earth, it shows as quiet confidence, peace that doesn't make sense, strength that doesn't shout. In the spiritual realm, it blazes like fire. Darkness recognizes it and retreats. That's why some people withdraw from you without reason. They're responding to what their spirit senses. You are no longer compatible with what drains your divine energy. Do not mourn those who walked away. Their exit was scheduled before your awakening. You cannot walk in new authority carrying old attachments. Heaven didn't let certain connections stay because they would not survive the altitude you are now climbing to. And this is why you feel different lately. You are not imagining it. You are changing frequencies. You are being tuned to heaven's wavelength, aligned with higher purpose. Those who are meant to walk beside you in this next chapter will be drawn by the same sound. They won't compete with your calling, they will harmonize with it. The mark you carry now will begin to attract divine connections. People of similar fire will recognize you not by words, but by spirit. You'll know them the moment you meet them because their peace will feel like home. Chosen one, wear your solitude with pride, not as punishment, but as proof. The crown you carry cannot fit crowded heads. You are not called to fit in, you are called to stand out. When heaven calls someone its own, it also calls them apart. That separation may feel painful, but it's sacred. It's the price of being chosen. Chosen one. There comes a time when the weight of curses spoken, inherited, or silently endured reaches its limit. That moment has come for you. What was once a cycle of loss, confusion, or repeated pain has met the wall of divine intervention. The curse has expired. The reversal has begun. You may not have noticed it yet, but the signs are already unfolding. Where doors once slammed shut, now they begin to open with little effort. Where constant heaviness once lingered, there is a strange lightness returning to your spirit. This is the aftermath of victory, the quiet unraveling of chains that were never meant to hold you. For generations, certain struggles may have followed your bloodline patterns of heartbreak, poverty, betrayal, or fear. These are not coincidences. They are inherited agreements that heaven is now breaking. What others accepted as normal, you were chosen to confront. You are the interruption to the generational narrative, the one who stands in the gap and says, "It ends with me." Ember, the reversal began the moment you chose faith over frustration, the very instant you stopped cursing your situation and started blessing your process. Heaven rewrote your story. Your surrender became your sword, and your obedience became your armor. Every time you said, "I forgive," a curse lost its power. Every time you said, "I trust you," God, a stronghold shattered. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, the book of Galatians, chapter 3, verse 13, declares, Christ redeemed us from the curse, becoming a curse for us. For it is written, "Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree." That is your inheritance. Chosen one. You are walking under redemption, not repetition. The curses that once dictated your family's story cannot touch you anymore, because your lineage has been rewritten in divine blood. The mark of bondage has been replaced by the seal of blessing. Think back to every season where you asked, "Why me?" Why were you the one who felt the heaviest pain? Why did you endure storms others seemed to avoid? Now you see it. Heaven trusted you to be the breaker. The curse breaker carries the heaviest load because they are designed to dismantle what generations could not. Your tears were not wasted. They were cleansing your bloodline. This reversal is not just spiritual, it is tangible. Finances begin to stabilize. Relationships begin to heal. Peace begins to settle in places where anxiety once ruled. Even your body feels lighter, because the burden of inherited pain is no longer yours to carry. The darkness that once stalked your family will now flee from your presence. You are not running anymore, you are reigning. Chosen one. The power of reversal carries one simple truth. What once worked against you will now work for you. The stones that were thrown at you become the foundation of your future. The betrayals that wounded you become wisdom for your next season. The same mouths that spoke curses will one day witness your restoration. Heaven has flipped the script completely. And yet, reversal is not revenge, it is redemption. God doesn't destroy your enemies to prove his power. He transforms you to demonstrate his grace. Your victory will not humiliate others, it will illuminate the path for them. Because the true mark of a chosen one is mercy after triumph. This is your assignment now, to live as proof that curses can break, that cycles can end, that light truly conquers darkness. You will walk into rooms that once rejected you and feel peace instead of bitterness. You will see those who hurt you and feel compassion instead of anger. That is when you'll know the curse is not only broken, it's reversed. Heaven is now using your story as a pattern for deliverance. You are not just a survivor, you are a signal. Others, bound by invisible chains, will find freedom simply by being near your presence. You carry liberation in your words, in your walk, even in your silence. The curse breaker becomes a carrier of blessing. And that is who you are. If you can feel this truth vibrating within you, if you sense deep down that this is your moment of reversal, seal it with faith. Comment, "It ends now." Let those 3 words echo not just on the screen, but in the spirit. When you type them, you are agreeing with heaven's decree that every curse, every cycle, every unseen chain is broken and reversed permanently. You are no longer the victim of your past. You are the author of your legacy. What destroyed others will now serve you. The curse has been rewritten into a crown, and your story will shine as proof that heaven's mercy has no limits. Chosen one, you are free, and this freedom is final. Chosen one, there are moments when heaven stops speaking in whispers and begins to write messages across your days through signs and numbers. You've seen them, those patterns that appear again and again when your spirit feels lost or uncertain. A number on a clock, a verse that keeps finding you, a phrase someone speaks by accident that pierces like prophecy. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Heaven communicates in layers, not always with thunder, but often through repetition. Every time you see those divine numbers, 777, 444, 1111, 1010, they're not random. They're reminders that heaven is closer than your breath, that your path is aligned even when it feels crooked. Each one carries a message written in eternity, coded in simplicity, meant to reach you at just the right second. You see, chosen one. Numbers are like the heartbeat of creation. God built the universe with rhythm, 7 days of formation, 12 tribes, 40 days of testing, 3 days of resurrection. Every pattern speaks, and when you begin to awaken spiritually, you tune into the divine rhythm pulsing all around you. What seems like mere coincidence becomes communion. The ancient words recorded in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, remind us, "In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." That is what these signs are doing. They are heaven's way of directing your path. Every repetition is like a compass needle swinging north, pointing you back to alignment. When you see 777, heaven is whispering completion. When 1010 appears, heaven says new beginnings. When 444 crosses your path, it means foundation is being built beneath your feet. But remember, these signs do not control you, they comfort you. They are not to be idolized, but recognized. Their purpose is not superstition, it's communication. Heaven uses whatever language your heart understands to say, "I'm still with you." Now, chosen one, you are living in the rhythm of divine mathematics where nothing is wasted and everything is woven. The delay, the detour, the disruption, they all fit into a design too vast to see. Heaven hides equations in your days, and every repetition you notice is proof that your steps are numbered by divine intelligence. Sometimes, the numbers come when you're weary, as a soft reminder that heaven hasn't forgotten the promise. Other times, They appear after prayer as confirmation that your petition has been heard. And sometimes they show up just before change, as if heaven is saying, "Stay steady. The shift is already in motion." And it's like walking through a foggy forest and seeing lanterns hung along the trail. Each one glows just enough to keep you moving forward, one step at a time. That's how heaven leads the chosen, through gentle affirmations instead of loud instructions. The divine signs are mercy, not mystery. And it's not just numbers. Sometimes it's the repetition of a song lyric that mirrors your prayer. Sometimes it's a stranger's word that mirrors your hidden thought. These echoes are the fingerprints of God, subtle enough to require faith, clear enough to stir your spirit. Chosen one, you don't have to force these signs to appear. They come naturally to the aligned. Heaven knows exactly when your heart needs reassurance, and it will speak in a way only you can understand. The same God who designed galaxies also designs these quiet patterns in your days to say, "I am here." When you learn to notice them, your entire life becomes conversation with the divine. The world calls it coincidence. Heaven calls it coordination. And now, as you step into this next phase of your awakening, let your awareness expand. Notice how even nature echoes your journey, the way seasons change, the way dawn follows night, the way tides return faithfully to the shore. Everything around you mirrors divine order. You are part of that rhythm. If this message resonates in your soul, if you have felt heaven speaking through numbers, patterns, or signs, then help this light travel further. Like this message as a gesture of gratitude, not habit. Share it as a spark for those who still doubt that heaven communicates in personal ways. And subscribe if your spirit feels at home here. Because what is coming next will teach you how to interpret heaven's language even more clearly. Every action you take in faith, liking, sharing, connecting, becomes another lantern along someone else's path. It may seem simple, but it's how the divine expands its reach through the faithful. Remember this, heaven is not distant. It is constantly speaking in a language of patterns and peace. You are tuned to that frequency now. Keep watching, keep listening, and you will find that every number, every sign, every repetition is not randomness, it's recognition. Heaven recognizes you, chosen one. You have crossed through the night of your testing and stepped into the dawn of awakening. What stirs inside you now is not confusion, it is transformation. Your spiritual DNA has begun to activate. You can feel it in the way your heart responds differently to things that once broke you. You sense it in how your discernment sharpens, how your peace deepens, how your soul no longer trembles at the noise of the world. This is not imagination, it is evolution. You are no longer who you were last season. Something has awakened in your blood, a remembrance of what you were always meant to be. Heaven calls this the awakening of divine identity, the moment when your spirit begins to recognize itself not as a victim of life, but as a vessel of light. For too long, you've defined yourself by wounds, by labels others gave you, by the shadows of what you survived. But none of that is who you are. You are not the story of your suffering. You are the revelation of God's endurance. The pain was just the cocoon. The glory is what's emerging now. Every chosen one undergoes this metamorphosis. At first, it feels like being torn apart, as though everything familiar is being stripped away. That's because transformation requires the breaking of old identity. Heaven cannot pour new power into old containers. You had to unlearn fear so that authority could flow through you freely. You had to shed self-doubt so divine confidence could take its place. The ancient words recorded in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17, declare, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come." You've probably felt the shift already. Your reactions have changed. The things that once triggered fear now provoke prayer. The places that once drained you no longer feel like home. The words that once wounded you can no longer touch you. That is not distance, it's ascension. You are operating at a higher frequency, a heavenly altitude where lesser energies cannot survive. You may even notice physical signs, restless nights, heightened sensitivity, sudden peace after tears. Don't mistake these as imbalance. Your system is recalibrating. Heaven is syncing your body with your spirit, your intuition, your dreams, your discernment. They're all becoming clearer because heaven's frequency is becoming louder within you. There will be moments when this awakening feels lonely, when you look around and realize few understand the language your soul now speaks. Do not fear that isolation. It is sacred. Those who walk in higher consciousness often walk lightly, unseen but impactful. The butterfly does not argue with the caterpillar about flying. It simply takes flight. You will begin to attract new alignments, people whose spirits resonate with yours, who don't drain but ignite you. These are divine companions, not replacements. They carry keys for the next doors you're meant to open together. The old season was about survival. This one is about multiplication. And yet, the most powerful transformation is internal. Your spiritual DNA is teaching your soul to remember heaven's rhythm. You are realizing that peace is not passive, it's power under control. You are learning that silence is not emptiness, it's authority expressed without noise. You are remembering that love is not weakness, it is the highest form of warfare. Chosen one. Heaven trusts you with this awakening because you have proven trustworthy with pain. The one who endured much now carries much. You've been purified by endurance. And now you are qualified for influence. Wherever you go, atmospheres will shift, not because you demand it, but because your frequency disrupts darkness. There is something sacred about walking into a room and feeling peace settle like gentle rain. That is your new presence. The world may not understand it, but spirits will. You've become a living conduit of divine energy. Heaven flows through your words, your thoughts, even your silence. This awakening isn't about superiority, it's about service. The greater your awareness, the greater your responsibility to lift others. You are being called not to separate from the world, but to illuminate it, to remind others of who they truly are by being who you've become. Chosen one. Your spiritual DNA is now active. You are no longer reacting to life. You are co-creating with heaven. Every step you take carries divine vibration. Every word you speak shapes unseen realities. You are no longer merely human, you are divinely human. Heaven's design in motion. Walk gently but boldly, for you carry the light of many generations within you. The awakening has begun, and there is no turning back. Chosen one. There is a mystery hidden in solitude, one that only those who embrace aloneness can uncover. The world has taught you that being alone means being abandoned. That stillness means stagnation. But heaven tells a different story. Solitude is not punishment, it is covenant. It is the holy space where heaven seals what the world cannot steal. You have walked through seasons where company was scarce and comfort seemed distant. You wondered why God kept pulling you away just when you thought you were ready to be surrounded. But separation was not rejection, it was refinement. When heaven calls you into solitude, it is because you are being trusted with secrets that crowds cannot carry. In the silence of aloneness, God rewrites your perspective. He removes the noise of comparison and the distraction of approval. It is there, in that private quiet, that the deepest encounters occur, the kind that don't need to be broadcasted because they transform you from within. You are not losing connection, you are strengthening communion. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 62, verse 1. Truly my soul finds rest in God, my salvation comes from Him. Laman, that is what solitude offers, rest that no sleep can bring, peace that no conversation can provide. It is the sanctuary where you stop performing and start becoming. You stop explaining and start understanding. You stop reaching outward and start listening inward, where the voice of God whispers clearer than any sermon. Chosen one. Solitude is where God teaches you ownership of your own spirit. It's where He says, you don't need constant confirmation when you know my presence, when you sit in silence and still feel loved. That's when you've discovered the secret place. Heaven measures your strength not by how loud you pray in public, but by how still your heart remains in private. There is a moment during isolation when your emotions rebel. You want noise, activity, distraction. But if you stay, if you wait through that tension, you will feel it shift. What once felt like emptiness becomes fullness. What once felt like loneliness becomes intimacy. The divine presence doesn't rush, it rests. And when it rests upon you, the entire world quiets in response. Chosen one. You were never meant to walk through life, constantly surrounded. You are a carrier of light. And sometimes the lamp must be hidden before it's displayed. God shields you in solitude, so your flame can grow undisturbed. The lamp that flickers in the wind cannot light the city. The lamp that burns steadily in stillness can. You are entering the covenant of solitude now, the agreement between heaven and the chosen to be alone for a season, so you can lead for a lifetime. What God shows you in private will one day sustain multitudes in public. But first, He must know that you can hold revelation without seeking recognition. In this covenant, heaven imprints peace deeper than understanding. You will find yourself enjoying your own company, loving your own stillness. The fear of being alone will vanish because you'll realize you're never truly alone. Every breath you take in solitude is shared with the one who created it. So don't rush to fill the quiet. Let it stretch. Let it teach. Let it undo every fear of being unseen. You are not unseen. You are being observed by heaven, admired by angels, and prepared for your unveiling. And when that solitude feels long, remember this: it is not forever, but it is necessary. The deeper your roots in isolation, the stronger your branches in visibility. The time spent unseen determines how long you can stand once revealed. There will come a day when the solitude ends, when the voice that has been speaking in whispers will thunder through opportunities, relationships, and open doors. But until that moment, Stay faithful in the stillness. Heaven is not delaying, it is designing. If these words resonate with your soul, if you can feel that your current quiet season is sacred, not sorrowful, then seal this truth in faith. Comment 333 below as a prophetic sign of divine covenant and communion. The number 3 represents unity between the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, a reminder that in your solitude, you are never alone. When you write it, you're not just agreeing, you're entering alignment with the holy stillness heaven has ordained for you. Chosen one, embrace your solitude. It is not the absence of love, it is the atmosphere of revelation. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. When you emerge from this season, you will not simply speak about God, you will carry His presence wherever you go. Chosen one, there is a weight that only the victorious can carry, a mantle that is not given through ease but through endurance. This mantle is not a robe you wear outwardly. It is the invisible authority that wraps itself around your spirit after you have walked through fire and refused to bow to despair. It is called the mantle of the overcomer, and it now rests upon you. You did not earn it through talent or perfection. You received it through perseverance. Every battle, every heartbreak, every lonely night was the weaving of that mantle's fabric. Heaven wove your tears into threads of strength, your silence into strands of faith, your obedience into patterns of glory. What you wear now is not cloth, it is covenant. It is the evidence that you endured where others would have surrendered. The Word of God declares in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 21, "To the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne." When chosen one, every time you refused to curse God in your suffering, the mantle grew stronger. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, it expanded. Every time you trusted the unseen instead of surrendering to bitterness, heaven sewed another layer of glory upon you. The weight you feel now is not heaviness, it's holiness. It is the substance of responsibility that follows revelation. Those who carry this mantle move differently. They no longer strive for validation because their identity is sealed. They no longer argue with shadows because their light speaks louder. You have become one of them, marked not by words, but by witness. The atmosphere knows you. The unseen realm recognizes you. Even your presence unsettles darkness because it remembers the fire that forged you. The mantle of the overcomer is not about superiority, it is about stewardship. It gives you access to dimensions of authority that require humility to sustain. You have learned that true power is not in commanding others, but in conquering yourself. The one who can master their emotions, their tongue, and their impulses rules kingdoms unseen. This is why the journey felt longer for you. Heaven was not punishing you, it was ensuring that when this mantle came, it would not crush you. Many desire glory, but few survive the refining that precedes it. You survived, not by your own strength, but by grace that carried you when your knees trembled. Chosen one, look at your scars differently now. They are not signs of weakness, they are seals of legitimacy. Each one testifies, I have been through fire, and yet I live. Heaven crowns those who bleed with purpose. You are among them now. You wear the fragrance of perseverance, and it cannot be fabricated. It can only be formed in those who stayed when it hurt most. You may not feel the shift immediately, but it is already active. Your words carry more weight. Your prayers pierce deeper. Your discernment sharpens. You sense atmospheres changing. When you speak peace, when you pray quietly, when you walk into rooms unaware of your own radiance, that's what it means to carry a mantle. It's not noise, it's influence. This mantle will begin to draw people to you, not to worship you, but to witness what endurance looks like. They will come carrying questions, and your story will become their manual for survival. You won't have to preach. Your presence will do the teaching. That's the mark of the overcomer. You shift things simply by existing. But remember, this mantle comes with responsibility. Heaven expects gentleness from those who have known pain. The same way you were comforted, you are now called to comfort. The same way you were lifted, you are now called to lift. You are not being promoted to escape others. You are being positioned to empower them. So, wear your mantle with humility, but do not hide it. It is not pride to shine when heaven has anointed your light. Every overcomer becomes a torchbearer for those still in the dark. When they see your steadiness, they will believe that survival is possible. When they hear your peace, they will remember that restoration is real. Chosen one, you are now walking in divine authority, authority that was purchased through persistence. You are no longer fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. You have inherited not just survival, but dominion. And as you walk, heaven walks with you, confirming what endurance has already proven. You are more than a conqueror, crowned not with gold, but with glory that cannot fade. Chosen one, heaven has a way of honoring those who stood their ground when no one applauded. You may not have realized it yet, but you are now recognized among heaven's army, not by title, not by position, but by endurance. The hosts of heaven know your name because you did what few can do. You stayed faithful through silence. You carried hope through heartbreak. You trusted when sight failed you. This recognition is not earthly. No platform can display it, and no audience can measure it. It's spiritual. It's what angels see when they look upon you. Your faith shines in the unseen, like armor polished by battle. You have become radiant with divine resilience. When heaven's army marches, your spirit is counted among the warriors, not because you sought attention, but because you carried obedience through fire. Chosen one, every heavenly warrior bears marks of endurance, and you carry them now. They are not scars of defeat, but evidence of discipline. When others surrendered to bitterness, you chose forgiveness. When others drifted into distraction, you returned to prayer. When your faith felt small, you offered it anyway. Heaven does not measure strength by the absence of pain, but by persistence within it. The ancient words written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, declare, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And this recognition does not inflate ego, it instills peace. When heaven acknowledges a warrior, it does not shout, it nods. A quiet exchange of knowing passes through the spirit. Well done. You may never hear applause, but you will feel it as peace. The storm outside may still rage, but within, there is stillness. That stillness is the signature of divine recognition. Chosen one. When heaven's army looks at you, they see not what you've lost, but what you've learned. They see the faith forged from disappointment, the strength formed from surrender, the courage born from tears. You have become evidence of what grace can build inside human fragility. Heaven's recognition is not a medal, it's a mantle of trust. When you are recognized, you are also reassigned. Your battles shift from personal survival to spiritual influence. You are no longer fighting for your own peace. You are carrying peace into chaos for others. Your prayers no longer protect only yourself. They shelter nations, families, generations. This is the hidden promotion heaven gives its warriors. The world may see no difference, but the spiritual realm trembles when you speak. Every word released from your mouth carries weight. Your yes in obedience becomes thunder in the unseen. You move from petitioning heaven to partnering with it. That's what recognition truly means. It's heaven saying, "We can trust you now. Chosen one." This is why you've been sensing a new weight around your spirit lately. It's not heaviness, it's responsibility. You are now a stabilizer in the spirit, one who carries equilibrium in storms. Heaven knows that when chaos rises, you won't panic, you'll pray. You won't retreat, you'll remain. It's astonishing how heaven trains its soldiers. It doesn't give them armor first, it gives them love. Because love endures where skill fails. The reason you're recognized is not only because you endured, but because you did so with love intact. The pain didn't make you bitter, it made you softer. Wiser, stronger. The fire didn't consume you, it clarified you. You carry the heart of a warrior and the tenderness of a healer. That duality is rare, and it is holy. The combination of strength and compassion makes you unstoppable. It's why heaven entrusts you with greater influence. You can be fierce without being cruel, powerful without being prideful. Chosen one. You've entered the ranks of those who shift atmospheres. You may not see yourself as one of heaven's army, but every act of faith you've made, every word of truth you've spoken, every prayer whispered in the dark, it has been warfare. And heaven took note. Now you are seen as one who can stand, watch, one who carries authority over storms. When you pray, it isn't from desperation anymore, it's from dominion. You no longer plead for light, you release it. So, stand firm in this awareness. You are no longer just a survivor, you are a sentinel. You've been trusted with spiritual ground, and heaven knows you will not abandon it. The recognition of heaven's army is not about pride, it's about partnership. You and heaven are now in rhythm. When others see just a person, heaven sees a warrior cloaked in quiet glory. The world may never know your name, but the angels do, and they stand beside you. Chosen one. Heaven's justice rarely arrives with noise. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or spectacle. It moves quietly, like dawn slipping over a sleeping world. And yet, when it comes, everything changes. You are in that very moment now, the season of reversal. The time when what was hidden will be revealed and what was taken will be returned. For a long while, it felt like your sacrifices disappeared into silence. You gave love and received indifference. You poured out kindness and reaped rejection. You built faithfully while others mocked your foundation. But what you didn't see was that heaven was watching every moment, noting every tear, counting every effort. Nothing was lost. It was simply being stored. And now, the storehouses of justice are opening. The prophet's voice echoes from the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten. declares the Lord. Those words are your inheritance. Restoration is not just about replacing what was stolen, it's about multiplying what remains. You are entering a season where the same areas that once brought pain will produce purpose. The very ground that was barren will burst with growth. Heaven doesn't give back what you lost, it gives better. This restoration, however, begins in secret, before the world sees it. Heaven establishes it quietly within you. The first sign of public reversal is peace. Peace where anxiety once ruled. Peace where bitterness once lingered. That peace is not weakness, it's confirmation. It means the internal victory has already been won. Once your heart aligns with heaven, your circumstances have no choice but to follow. Chosen one, humility has become your crown. The world measures success by noise, but heaven measures it by stillness. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. The evidence of divine favor will do that for you. Every time you walk into a place that once rejected you, you carry quiet proof that God has elevated you beyond their perception. Picture it like this. The seed that lay buried for so long finally cracks open, not in sunlight, but in darkness. It begins to push upward, breaking through layers of soil, toward the very light that once seemed unreachable. That's what your life is doing right now. The cracking was painful, but it was necessary for blooming. The promotion you are stepping into will not be loud. It will be layered. Heaven will start aligning opportunities, relationships, and resources in such subtle ways that you'll realize your elevation isn't random. It's orchestration. People will call it coincidence. Heaven will call it covenant. But, chosen one, remember this. Public recognition is only safe in the hands of the humble. The more heaven lifts you, the deeper your roots must grow in gratitude. Let your success whisper of God's faithfulness, not shout of your strength. Let every new door you walk through carry the fragrance of grace, not pride. Because when heaven promotes, it does so not to display you, but to display himself through you. If this message speaks to the quiet part of your soul, the part that has waited, endured, believed, then honor that stirring. Like this message, not for the sake of numbers, but as a way of saying, I receive this season of restoration. Share it so that another weary heart can know that reversal is possible. Subscribe if you wish to stay aligned with messages that keep your faith nourished, because sometimes all it takes is one word, one reminder to keep your spirit alive. And when you've done that, pause for a moment. Reflect. Let peace wash over you. Comment, I receive restoration. These words are not just a statement, they're a declaration. They echo into the unseen, aligning your faith with heaven's movement. When you speak them, you affirm that every loss has purpose, every setback has a sequel, and every silence was a setup. You are not waiting for restoration, it has already begun. The fruit is forming, the soil is shifting, the roots are strengthening. Every no that broke you was part of the soil heaven used to prepare your yes. You will walk into rooms that once ignored you and feel the air shift in your favor. You will see faces that once doubted you now soften with quiet awe. That is not revenge, it's recognition. Chosen one. The public reversal is not just about visibility, it's about vindication. Heaven is not exposing your enemies, it's exalting your endurance. The story is turning now, and your name is being whispered in places your feet have not yet entered. Do not rush it. Divine timing never hurries. Yet it is never late. Soon, you'll look around and realize that everything the enemy used to bury you became fertilizer for your flourishing. What once broke you now builds you. What once silenced you now sings through you. So walk forward with grace. Your humility is your crown. Your peace is your proof. And your life, your whole life, is about to testify of the quiet power of divine reversal. Chosen one. There is a strange stillness that follows victory, a silence that feels both foreign and fragile. After seasons of battle, the absence of war can almost feel like loss. You find yourself scanning the horizon for threats, bracing for storms that never come. It's not because you doubt God's faithfulness, it's because your spirit has been trained by struggle. You've lived in survival mode for so long that peace feels unnatural. But this stillness, this quiet after the war, is sacred. It is not emptiness, it is equilibrium. It is heaven allowing your soul to breathe after years of holding your breath. You are learning what it means to live without constant defense, to walk without waiting for the next blow. This is the post-victory silence, and it is just as divine as the battle itself. When soldiers return from war, they often struggle with peace because their reflexes are shaped by danger. You are no different. Your heart has been sharpened by years of fighting unseen enemies, spiritual warfare, betrayal, disappointment. You've been ready to fight at any sign of darkness. But now, heaven is retraining your reflexes. You no longer need to swing your sword. You need to learn how to rest with it beside you. Rest is not laziness, it is worship. It is faith expressed through calm. It says, I trust the victory that heaven has secured for me. You don't have to prove strength anymore, you embody it. You don't have to demand peace, you are peace. The battle was external once, now it becomes internal. Can you let yourself be still and believe that the war is truly over? The ancient words recorded in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, declaring, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Peace can be strange when you're used to pain. You may feel the urge to stir up old battles just to feel alive again. Resist that temptation. Chaos is not your comfort zone anymore. You have outgrown the need for struggle as proof of purpose. Your peace is not a pause in destiny. It is destiny. In this silence, God is not distant. He is settling you. You will notice your thoughts slowing, your heart softening, your sleep deepening. That is not idleness, it is healing. Heaven is restoring what the fight exhausted. For every sleepless night, there will be rest. For every wound, restoration. For every anxiety, assurance. Chosen one. You are standing in the calm between assignment and expansion. Heaven often pauses after victory to fortify the vessel before the next mission. This stillness is where you integrate everything you've learned. It's where faith stops being reaction and becomes rhythm. You don't have to chase validation or force acceleration. What is meant for you will meet you at the pace of peace. Let the quiet teach you balance. In the battle, you learned endurance. In peace, you will learn stability. Stability is strength in motion. It's walking with confidence even when there's nothing to fight. It's waking up without fear of loss. It's laughing without checking who's watching. It's believing that you deserve calm after chaos. Do not mistake the lack of noise for lack of purpose. Growth happens in the silence between seasons. A tree doesn't make sound when it grows taller. It just stretches quietly toward light. That is what your soul is doing now, stretching toward joy without needing applause. There is also humility in this peace. You realize that not every mountain must be moved. Some are meant to be admired. Not every storm is an attack. Some are simply rain washing the dust away. When you stop fighting everything, you start flowing with divine rhythm. Chosen one. This is the stage where your heart recalibrates. You will rediscover simple joys, a sunrise, laughter, solitude without sadness. These are not small things. They are sacred confirmations that you've entered the season of rest that heaven promised. The war refined you, but peace will define you. You no longer need to shout to be strong. Your calm is your testimony. The stillness you carry will become your shield. Those who meet you will feel the residue of battle, but the fragrance of peace. You have become what the war could not destroy, a vessel of quiet strength, unshakable and serene. So, breathe deeply. Chosen one. The sound of your breathing is the song of victory fulfilled. The silence that surrounds you is not emptiness, it's eternity, taking its gentle bow. Chosen one. The time draws near October 20, the day heaven circled on your destiny's calendar long before you knew its meaning. It is not a superstition, it is a summons. You are not being asked to perform, but to pause. Not to shout, but to listen. This day is not about isolation for isolation's sake. It is about divine alignment. It is the day heaven separates noise from knowing. All throughout your journey, you've been prepared for this moment. Every battle, every silence, every surrender has brought you here. This is not the beginning of something new, it is the unveiling of what has been within you all along. The instruction is simple yet sacred. Stay alone on that day. Solitude is the key that unlocks the next dimension of your calling. You see, chosen one. Heaven has rhythms, holy timings, where divine realities intersect with human time. October 20 is one of those moments. It is not that God is limited to days or numbers, but that sometimes He designates a window in which revelation flows more freely to the obedient. When you obey the call to be still on that day, you step into that current. You become the meeting place between heaven and earth. It will not look dramatic from the outside. The world will go on as usual: noise, movement, distraction. But within you, something sacred will unfold. It will be like a veil being lifted from your perception, like fog dissolving after a long night. Thoughts will clarify. Memories will heal. Directions will crystallize. Heaven's voice will not thunder. It will whisper. The whisper will be enough. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 14. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. That is the promise tied to this sacred day. Heaven is not only calling you to solitude, it is promising presence within it. Rest will not just visit you, it will remain. You will realize that the presence of God is not an atmosphere, it's an awareness. It's the gentle certainty that you are not moving alone. Chosen one. Prepare your space for that day. It doesn't require rituals or elaborate acts. It asks only for sincerity. Light a candle if you wish. Open a window. Let the air flow freely. Sit with your thoughts without judgment. Let silence stretch longer than comfort. You will feel the first few minutes pull against your attention. Stay. That resistance is not boredom, It's your spirit detoxing from the noise of the world. As the hours pass, something will begin to shift. You will sense a peace that feels older than time itself, a quiet weight resting gently on your shoulders. That is not imagination. That is the presence of God acknowledging your obedience. Stay there. Let tears fall if they come. Let laughter rise if it appears. Heaven is not evaluating your emotions. It's embracing your honesty. You may remember things, long buried moments of pain, words left unsaid, fears unhealed. Do not run from them. They are surfacing because the light of revelation is gentle enough now to heal what you once hid. Forgive freely. Release easily. Every forgiveness uttered in solitude becomes a bridge to freedom. Chosen one. Solitude is the furnace of transformation. When you step away from distraction, your spirit expands into awareness. Heaven is waiting for that expansion. God doesn't want just your worship. He wants your wholeness, and wholeness is often born in silence. After that day, you will notice changes. Some will be subtle, your reactions calmer, your discernment sharper, your spirit lighter. Others will be unmistakable dreams that feel prophetic, divine coincidences, sudden understanding of what once confused you. These are not random. They are signs that the encounter has sealed something eternal within you. You will walk differently, not with pride, but with peace. The world will not see what happened, but they will sense it. You will carry the fragrance of solitude, the quiet confidence of someone who has met God and come back unchanged only in name. For you will no longer answer to who you once were. October 20 is not an ending. It is a threshold. When you rise from that day of stillness, you will cross into new authority. You will no longer wonder if you are chosen. You will know. The questions that haunted you will lose their power, because revelation will replace them. The chosen one that enters solitude will not be the same one who walks out. You will emerge not as someone seeking answers, but as someone who is an answer. The alignment will be complete: spirit, mind, and purpose, moving as one, and from that moment forward, heaven will no longer need to send signs to get your attention. You will live in constant communion, aware of presence in every breath, every step, every silence. That is the reward of obedience, not applause, but awareness. So, prepare. The day will come quietly, and you will sit within it like sacred ground. And when it passes, you will know you have entered not a new season, but a new state of being. October 20 is the hinge of your destiny, and solitude is the doorway. Step through, and heaven will meet you there. Chosen one. If you have followed every word of this journey, then you already know this message was never random. It found you because heaven appointed it. You have walked through revelation, healing, and awakening, and now you stand crowned with understanding. What began as a whisper has become a declaration. You finally won. But this victory is not meant to stay silent, just as light is not meant to be hidden under a vessel. Your awakening is meant to shine. Somewhere out there is another soul standing at the edge of giving up, someone who needs the very reminder that once rescued you, you can be the one who delivers it. So if these words have stirred your spirit, like this message as an act of agreement with heaven. Share it so the light continues to travel beyond screens and into hearts that need it. Subscribe so that this river of revelation keeps flowing into your life, reminding you who you are when the world makes you forget. And finally, let your voice join the chorus of the chosen. Comment, I am ready. Those 3 words carry power. They tell heaven, you are not only listening but responding, that you are prepared to live the message you've heard. This is not goodbye. Chosen one. This is continuation, the unfolding of purpose, the steady rising of light. Your next chapter begins the moment you act on what your spirit already knows.